When you have privilege, it doesn't feel like it. People who have privilege don't think, wow, I have special rights that other people don't. Very rarely is that the case. You tell yourself the story that you got it because you earned it, that you worked your ass off and you got what you deserved. Having no idea or not listening to people who tell you I did the same thing and it did not matter. So yeah, I think a lot of white men are shocked right now that the DEI programs that were benefiting them aren't benefiting them anymore. Like, they didn't realize that they were getting into some colleges only because there were so many more women applying that they had to let them in. That they had only been on top in previous generations because the laws were written by white men who made sure they were the only ones who had access to paid labor. But generations down from when those decisions were made, they weren't picking up on that. And we all do this to a certain degree. Several years ago, when I was first doing my research on the unwritten rules of work for the working class, I was still doing my Ph.D. and I collaborated with another Ph.D. student to give a talk at our university for our lab about career development, because both of us had done very well in getting pretty prestigious jobs while we were still students in our dissertation phase. And he and I were from very different backgrounds. He was like, both of his parents were lawyers. They paid for everything for him while he was in school. He drove the nice car. I'll pay, he had mom and daddy's credit cards, all of that. And we were preparing for the presentation, and I was going over things that I'd learned in my experience and in my research so far on what are the unwritten rules, what are the things that people don't know. And he stopped me at one point. He was like, Anna, are we just wasting our time? Like, everyone knows this. Like, this is so basic. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, we've been in the same program for years, taking the same classes on like bias and everything. And I was like, it's normal to you because your parents taught you how to do this. And to his credit, he was like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. And we ended up still collaborating and doing the presentation, and it went really, really well. And people were like, this was really helpful. And, he wasn't condescending towards them or anything. Like, he just needed that privilege check, because I tell people all the time, like, it's not like wealthy people sit their kids down with a PowerPoint and they're like, oh, here's the rules, don't tell the poor kids. Privilege doesn't feel that way. That's why it's so hard for people to admit when they have it. I, as a white woman, I don't walk into a department store and think, wow, I am so privileged that nobody's following me around assuming I'm stealing. I just think I'm getting the experience at the store that I deserve and everyone should have access to. And I'm only aware that that's a problem for Black and Latino men in particular. And more than that, I've heard it mostly from those groups. I only know that because of research and listening to them. When enough people tell you about their experience and it's not the same as yours, then that's how we know when there's privilege. And it's not that inherently you don't deserve it, though there may be some cases. There's a lot of mediocrity out there, or even not qualified. It also, in some cases, can be like not being followed around a store. Things like that you have a right that everyone deserves to have, but not everyone does. So, privilege is funky, and we have a really negative connotation around it.